Hey, welcome back to TAPintoTV. I am Brian Brodeur, coming to you from the fabulous East Main Media Studios in Little Falls, New Jersey. On this week's show, comedian John Poveromo joins us to talk about his latest project entitled Duppet. Family law attorney Catherine Riordan talks to us about her business and her career. And we welcome back clinical psychologist Meryl Dorf by popular demand to discuss why some people are wearing masks and some not during the pandemic. And of course, American actor in London Greg Canestrari talks to us about his latest projects. But first, let's catch up with small business owner Kat Fisher of Sadie's in South Orange, New Jersey.
I'm speaking with Kat Fisher, owner of Sadie's in South Orange, New Jersey. Kat, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Kat, I want to just jump right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your shop, Sadie's, and how things are going there in South Orange?
Yeah, so my store is a women's, men's clothing store with some home goods and different knick-knacky pieces. My focus is on ethical and philanthropic brands, so all of my brands are made with sustainable materials or donate back to different causes. This will be our third year of being open.
Wow, Kat, how did you start as a business owner?
So I worked in retail for about 20 years before this. Owning my own store was kind of always up there as a goal one day. And it was really, I live in South Orange and I walked past a space that I saw was for rent and I just kind of made the jump.
I have seen your store and been by it many times and been in it many times. It's very colorful, very beautiful. You know, I've thought about you guys and really that whole main strip in South Orange. What was it like closing down due to COVID?
It was tough. It was a very emotional decision to have to all of a sudden just shut it down. We didn't really get a lot of notice. It was really like an overnight decision from Governor Murphy. So it was tough.
Kat, how did you prepare for your reopening?
So for reopening, we had to hire back a staff member. She's my one and only staff member at the moment, a college girl who's worked with me for the last 3 years during breaks. And we just really focus on minimizing the staff. So there's only one staff member and only one customer is allowed in the store at the time so that people feel more comfortable. And then that gives her a chance to go through and do the sanitizing of all the different areas afterwards.
Working within the guidelines that Governor Murphy gave you, what kind of protocols have you put into place, making sure that you're safe and of course your staff is safe and that the customers are too?
Yeah, so I mean, we have the surgical masks that everybody wears. They can choose to wear their own mask if they prefer. Sometimes they're a little more breathable, but we have supplied the surgical masks to everybody. And then just the constant cleaning. We have tons of disinfecting wipes and hand sanitizer all over the store so that everybody feels like they can clean.
You know, you're probably the first person that we've spoken to that owns 2 shops on a main street. I'm imagining that's sort of like double the stress, but also double the fun, if that's such a thing in COVID times. Can you tell me a little bit, between Sadie's and of course your kitchen store, are you finding that you're working harder than ever? What's the environment been like now that you guys are back?
I literally have not had a day off since March 21st. I keep trying to do days off, but it's just really hard. Somebody always sends an email or something comes up, a shipment ends up getting scheduled on that day. It's been extremely stressful. And you just jump in and you do it and hope that come August, things will be slightly back to normal and we can at least hire a few more people back and feel more comfortable with more than one person in the store.
How have your customers responded to you guys being back open?
The community in South Orange is amazing. There have been so many people who jumped right in and just luckily started spending their money. We had a ton of people while we were closed at Sadie's buy gift cards, and that was super helpful to make sure that we could get rent paid and utilities. So it's an amazing community that we have here.
Kat, knowing all that you know, given that you've dealt with the crisis, you guys are hopefully on the other side of it. What advice do you have for other small business owners?
I think the stronger the connection that you have with your community, the easier it is to come out on the other end. It seems stressful to kind of jump at every request that every customer has, but they're asking for it now. And if you fulfill that now, they'll come back to you again later.
I think that's great advice and so, so true. What does the future look like for Sadie's?
For Sadie's, so we're just in July, we're able to open up again Wednesdays through Sundays, one customer at a time, 12 to 5. And then we'll hopefully with, a vaccine and the cases continuing to drop, we'll be back to normal by the holiday season. Fingers crossed.
Oh, my fingers are crossed for you too. I know people are wanting to get out there safely and continue to shop with you. Kat, it's been so wonderful speaking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
To watch more Tap Into TV videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel at TAPintoTV.
Well, it is my pleasure to be joined by John Poveromo today, comedian, actor, writer, cartoonist. John, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to be here.
Eager to talk to you about your latest short film, Duppet. I was laughing out loud when I was screening it. My favorite part is whoever implemented the whoosh sounds when your puppet friend arrives. I cannot get enough of the whoosh, as many people know.
That'd be our director who did that, Chris Fitz. He kind of edited it and put it together and implemented all the sound effects and stuff. He's very good.
Good. Well, kudos to Chris, and more whoosh the better, as we say around here. So listen, give me the high level here. Duppet, where can people see it? I think we're talking about Amazon. Give me the whole rollout. How did this happen?
It's on Amazon Prime, still streaming right now, and it's also actually available on YouTube as well. But we'd love it if you saw it on Amazon because that's how we get paid.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it looks great,
especially during this point in time.
How'd you get involved? What? Obviously, you're on screen in this short, but tell me about your role in it and what it's all about.
Yeah, I wound up acting in it just as on a whim. We wound up doing, my friend started a short film project that he was planning on doing or whatever, and I got to be a part of it. And I already had a completed script with my buddy, Vinny Nardiello, who co-wrote it with me, and we'd already had it done. So we were like, all right, why don't we just bang this out for our next script and the first film that we do. And it wound up coinciding perfectly with Mental Health Awareness Month for October. So it came out September 30th, and it just caught fire. And people really loved it. It resonated with a lot of people, which is great because when, for me, because most of this is from my own experience, to have other people kind of connect with it in a way that made them feel like they weren't exactly alone with their insanity or their crazy thoughts made me feel really good about putting it out.
In the short, you are acting with a puppet, right? And so tell me a little bit about the background, what the puppet represents, and just give me a little sneak peek of what people will see in the short.
So the puppet's a manifestation of the main character's level of depression that he's going through. So every negative thought, every fear, every anxiety is filtered through a puppet. And we decided to do that because, I dealt with depression for most of my life. And for about 3 years, it got really, really bad. And I was kind of struggling with a lot of stuff at the time. And the roommate that I had, we were just joking around and we were talking about our own form of depression or whatever. And we were like, it's basically like waking up with just somebody sitting on your chest every morning and then just delivering the worst news, like rapid fire. So we thought about getting like a really like a slovenly looking dude, to play like a depression, somebody in a guinea tee. And then my co-writer and I love the Muppets. So we were like, why don't we just make it a puppet? And I had my buddy Greg Johnson help design the look of the puppet to look like me. And I think it's hilariously accurate for the most part.
In producing the short, working with a puppet, is it harder or easier than a human?
It was actually the guy who created the puppet, Greg Johnson, did the voice of the puppet. He and I have been friends for since we were like 12. So for me, it was great. I knew, he played the puppet very well. He read the lines that I had written like perfectly. So for me, it was great to just play off of it. I liked it almost better than a human because, I suck as an actor. So I'm a good comedian, whatever. So, every now and again, it was hard being upstaged by a puppet, but I think I still got a few kicks in there.
We really enjoyed it. And again, people can find this on Amazon and they can stream it, right?
Yeah, they can stream it on Amazon and they can also find it on my YouTube page.
This is great having you on, and I'm thrilled you took time to join us.
Thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed it a lot. Great
to see you. Take care, John.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
What is TAPintoTV? TAPintoTV is the flagship video channel within the TAPinto hyperlocal news network. Not only are we producing original video programming, but we're also developing branded content for industries including business and finance, health and wellness, arts and entertainment, and more. The TAPinto network reaches a dedicated audience of over 8 million subscribers and users, with over 30 million unique page views last year alone. Nearly 2/3 of the TAPinto audience views TAPinto content 5 to 7 times per week, and almost half of that audience bought a product or service because they saw it advertised on TAPinto. TAPintoTV content is automatically distributed to over 40 affiliate websites within the TAPinto network. And not only have we recently launched a dedicated Roku channel, but we produce a weekly half-hour broadcast television show on News 12 Plus, which reaches over 3.5 million homes across the tri-state area. We know how to tell your story, and not only can we professionally produce it, but we can effectively distribute it as well. For more information about how TAPintoTV can help you, visit tapintotv.net or email us at tapintotv@gmail.com.
To learn more about TAPintoTV, visit tapintotv.net.
I'm joined today by Catherine Riordan from Riordan & Associates Divorce and Family Law. Catherine, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Brian. Thanks so much for having me.
Tell me a little bit about Riordan & Associates. What's the scope of service that you do, and what do you focus on?
We're a boutique divorce and family law firm. So we specialize in different matrimonial issues, divorce, custody, parenting time, spousal support, child support, and then of course non-divorce issues that could include parenting time and child support as well.
Can you tell me the distinction between divorce law and family law? And are they the same thing?
Divorce would be a part of family law. So as a family law attorney, I may deal with non-marital issues. There can be a couple that shares a child together and their relationship falls apart, but we still have to address the needs of a child or children. Or maybe they jointly invested in some things together but didn't get married.
Right.
They'll still come to see me for those things, and we'll figure out child support, we'll figure out parenting time, we'll figure out college, all their activities, medical insurance, all that great fun stuff that comes with having kids.
Sure.
Despite the fact that I do mediation and litigation, there's always going to be that settlement mindset, which is similar to how the courts look at it anyway.
Explain that. I want to know I want to know about that difference, the court's perspective versus your perspective of settlement. Explain that, please.
Well, they're not so different. That the court schedule is essentially set up to have every case reach settlement. They're not that different. The process is longer. The bottom line for a divorce case is trying to not spend so much money on wonderful lawyers and keep as much as you can in your pocket. And that's really still my job, right? I'm supposed to educate my client on how the law would likely be applied to their case, and say, but if we reach a settlement, we don't have to necessarily follow the letter of the law. We get to be creative. So it's really attractive. And courts recognize that too. If people are able to negotiate their own settlement rather than having some judge who's a stranger tell them how they're now going to go forward with their lives, that's not such a great situation to be in. Let's kind of stay in the driver's seat a little bit and see what we can figure out that's best for you and your family and still be fair. And that's usually the fairness is where a little Irish guilt comes in. I'll remind people that you love your kids more than you may dislike each other right now. What can we do that's right for them?
What was your path to starting your firm and focusing on family and divorce law? What was your path to that place?
I worked for a firm where I did a little bit of everything when I started out. And one of the partners gave me my first family law case. And that direct contact with a person and seeing that I was able to impact them in such a positive way was such a great reward. I loved it. I still love it. I love that I get to really help people move on to the next chapter of their life and make it positive. I always say that, the Irish people find humor in the most horrible of things. So in this difficult time, I still make my clients laugh. We find the positive parts of all of this. And, I get something out of that too. It feels good.
Catherine, you're a member of the American Business Associates Business Development Group, the ABA. What does networking and business development mean for you and your business? Can you tell me about that?
With ABA, that networking, I wouldn't necessarily call it networking, that interaction with those other members means education for me primarily. I have learned about different businesses. I've learned about different ways to approach business, budget, employees, even my clients, how to address clients differently, and in some cases, how to navigate some difficult business paths that maybe someone else has a different perspective on. And they're such incredibly bright people, and they're really always willing to help and share, that it has been just an amazing experience for me.
Catherine, thanks so much for taking time to talk today.
Thank you so much, Brian. Take care.
To watch more Tap Into TV, follow us on social media at TAPintoTV.
I'm thrilled to be joined once again by clinical psychologist Dr. Meryl Dorf. Meryl, welcome to the studio again. Here you are.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
So I wanted to follow up with you on a topic that comes from a previous conversation we had. You and I discussed during the pandemic months via Zoom about social distancing and some of the problems that people had with it, why people didn't practice social distancing. So I want to take that to another step. I want to ask you your input and your analysis about why people don't wear masks, why they don't want to wear masks when it seemingly is in the public good. Let me hear your thoughts on that, please.
The first thing I want to say is that this dilemma is really not a new one. I think maybe the most obvious issue is that there's a political bias. But let's get into some of the other issues. It was happening during the flu pandemic of 1918. The very, very same issues arose then. They had the same approach to managing the virus then because there was no medicine for it. They had to social distance, they had to sequester, and they had to wear masks. And at that time, there was also a political difference between the two camps. One camp felt that it was the duty of every American to do what they could to stem the tide of the pandemic, and they abided by rules and mandates to wear masks. And the other group was very focused on their civil liberties, to the extent that there was actually an anti-mask league of San Francisco.
Wow.
And they would protest maybe much in the same way that we're doing now. And they were very much at odds.
So what's interesting is, 100 years ago, we had these factions or these beliefs, mask, no mask, under a similar circumstances. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people dying, a public health crisis. Can you tell me a little bit about what motivation people may have to align with these camps? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. We're so polarized. But it makes sense to me if you think about that we are really in a global trauma right now. It is so stressful that people are trying to manage the high anxiety of just getting through these times. And one of the ways that I think human beings respond to times of such uncertainty is that we gravitate to groups, to each other. We want to belong. And we want to be able to trust that there are people we can turn to who will be there and have our back. So I think those groups are created out of that. And that in order to remain part of a group that we feel we want to belong to, we actually take on the ideas and information that supports being in that group. And I think there's a concept called GroupThink. GroupThink is a concept that was developed by this guy, Irving Janis, back in the 70s. And I think it speaks to how groups are formed during times of uncertainty with people who are vulnerable to a feeling and a need to belong.
Is it fair to say that the stress and the disruption of the pandemic reinforces our need to belong to groups?
Absolutely. It reinforces or creates these factions. I think there's even an element of self-censorship where if we're part of one group and we dare to have some doubts or some thoughts about something we don't agree with, maybe we'll tend to suppress those ideas, either to ourselves or not speak them in order to remain part of the group.
Because that's comforting to us.
It's very comforting. It's a basic human need, I think, for attachment and belonging. And particularly in times of stress and uncertainty, those needs are just paramount.
Well, again, Meryl, great advice, great insight. I can't thank you enough for coming in and speaking with me today.
It's always my pleasure.
To watch more Tap Into TV videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel at TAPintoTV.
I'm thrilled to be joined by Greg Canestrari, an American actor in London, known for his work in Lilyhammer on Netflix, known for his work in Tim Burton's Dumbo. Greg, thanks for joining me. I'm thrilled to talk about your new projects today.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here.
So I want to speak to you a little bit more about being an American actor in England, in London specifically. Before I get there, I wanted to ask you about the series Lilyhammer. You and I have spoken before about this series. Of course, you appeared on a episode of our podcast here at East Main Media. The series Lilyhammer, which includes you and Stephen Van Zandt. Tell me a little bit about being Jerry DeLucci in that series, and who knows, maybe there'd be a future for Jerry down the road. Tell me a little bit.
Well, I would jump on that immediately. It was shot in Norway. Oslo, and Lillehammer itself. Season 1, it seems, is the most popular season for whatever reason it may be, but oftentimes it would be the most popular season anyway, because it's got the most gung-ho energy behind it. 2, very good, and 3. But, I think 1, was the strongest. Steve Ensign was a joy to work with, just grounded, lovely guy, just a fantastic, talented. Just, I got nothing but good things. It was such a great experience. But I mean, things happen in season 1, which, in case you haven't seen it, I don't want to give it away. But Jerry probably has a twin brother somewhere in the world. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
You never know.
So, yeah.
And a little background, just so people realize, this is one of the first, if not the first, Netflix-produced originals. Is that correct?
This was the very first, the premiere original programming of Netflix was Lilyhammer. And then I believe House of Cards.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's still, Lilyhammer is still thriving in many countries around the world. So yeah, it's a great program. And yeah, it does have a bit of a cult following. It's got that, it's a spin-off really of The Sopranos.
Right.
And I think people that love The Sopranos will love Lilyhammer. Same type of comedy, rhythms, the vibe.
Tell me about the latest news, which is season 2 of Das Boot. Tell me about the release on that.
Well, that's on Sky Atlantic. It was released on the 9th of June. And because Das Boot originally came from the film in the 80s, and there was season 1, now it's season 2. Nice role in that in episode 8 of the season 2. I'm happy to be involved with it. Great team of creative behind that.
Also on Amazon Prime, you've recently been in a release called Last Town Standing. Tell me about that.
Well, Last Town Standing is produced by and directed by Martin Todt and Martin Todt Media, and he's a fantastic director and producer. He's connected with everybody in Amazon, and he's just very, very talented. And so I connected with him through word of mouth, and a friend of mine, Tim Ahern, who I did Lilyhammer with, has worked a lot with him, and whatever Tim is happy to do, so am I, because I respect him greatly. So we hooked up and we started talking. We were trying to really find a project that we could work on together. So yeah, we found a project called Last Town Standing, and we developed it. And it's a fun little family film. It really is. I'm still the bad guy. Jeez Louise, come on, what's happening there? But it's at least there's no cursing left and right, and because it's a lighthearted family film, and it's great for the time as well.
Now, speaking of getting away from darker roles, you're involved in a project called Little Birds. Can you tell me about that?
Juno Temple is the lead in that, and I can't say too much right now, but it will be out on Sky Atlantic sometime this year.
So, Greg, tell me what it's like being an American actor in London.
You get to be sort of a bigger fish in a smaller pond, but it's still a pretty big pond here. And a lot of Americans from the States are actually coming here for various reasons, not only professionally, but personally as well. And the competition is still pretty tough. But I've got a great manager, agent, and they really work hard for me.
So, Greg, thanks for taking time to talk with me, and I'm thrilled you're okay over there, and I can't wait to see some of these new projects you got coming out.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.
To learn more about TAPintoTV, visit TAPintoTV.net.
Tune in next week for another episode of Tap Into TV. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and you can watch any of our video segments anytime at TAPintoTV.net. Thanks for watching, and please stay safe and healthy. We have to address your earphones, John. I think it's time for an intervention.
this knot represents everything I've been going through during COVID.
Listen, you dirty hippie, when's the last time you've had a haircut?
Dude, I haven't had a haircut in like since 5 months. I want to say, I know I cursed right off the bat.
We're taking donations. I think we've started a GoFundMe account for you, John, to get those locks in shape.